All right, we continue with solving quadratics using the square roots, and this is the second part of another video that we did before. So if you have not watched it yet, go ahead and watch this video that is going to show up here, and then come back to this video so that you can get some practice done. So let's take a look at this example. We have x minus 1 in parentheses, that is being squared, and we need to solve it. Let me just zoom in a little bit more. There you go. So we have to solve this quadratic equation. So notice that this 2 is outside the parentheses. So this x minus 1 we see it as a whole quantity. It's one quantity together. Now, in order to mess around with this quantity, we need to move the things that are outside the parentheses first. And how do we do that? Well, how can I get rid of that square? We learned that in the previous video, in order to get rid of that square, we can square root both sides. We can square root both sides. Well, what happens when I do the square root? The square is going to cancel out, and I'm left with x minus 1 is equal to, and check this out, the square root of 25 is positive 5, but also negative 5. Now, notice that at this point, I can rewrite it. I can rewrite this as x minus 1 is equal to positive 5, and x minus 1 is equal to negative 5. Now, let's go ahead and solve for x, and after we solve for x, we will have found our solutions. So in order to solve for x on the first one, I can just add 1, and I am left with x is equal to 6. And on the second one, I can add 1 again, plus 1, and I'm left with negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. So there we have our solutions for this problem. Now, go ahead and practice. I have prepared for you 2 problems where you can practice. Oh, actually, I prepared 3. I forgot about that last one. So there are 3 problems. Get a sheet of paper and practice these 3 problems, and then come back, and I'm going to solve the problems so that you can check your solutions. Okay, hopefully you paused the video, and now you're coming back to check the solutions. I'm going to go over these problems very quickly. So number 1, I have x squared plus 12 is equal to 10. Well, how do I solve this? We can subtract 12 on both sides, and we're left with x squared is equal to 10 minus 12 is negative 2. And then I can find the square root of both sides in order to get rid of that square. So I'm left with x is equal to, remember that if we're doing the square root of a negative value, then we say there is no real solution. There is no real solution. Maybe I shouldn't say x is equal to, but I'm just going to say there is no real solution. Okay, number 2. Number 2, you were supposed to find the square roots or square root both sides. So that cancels out, and we're left with 2x plus 1. It's equal to, the square root of 36 is positive 6, but also it's negative 6. So we can separate this into 2 different equations. So we can have 2x plus 1 is equal to positive 6. 2x plus 1 is equal to negative 6. Now let's solve for x, and we do that by subtracting 1. So we have 2x is equal to 5, and then I can divide by 2 here. So x is equal to 5 divided by 2. And over here, we can subtract 1 again, and we're left with 2x is equal to negative 7. We can divide by 2, and we're left with negative 7 divided by 2. Let's go ahead and do one last problem, which is right here. Let me see. There you go. So in this particular problem, what we needed to do first was get rid of that 4 that is in front. So we should have started by dividing by 4 on both sides. So let's divide by 4, and there we have it. So we have x minus 3. I'm going to keep that parentheses, square. So when I divide by 4, these 4s are reduced to 1, are equal to 9 divided by 4. Now, this one is interesting because I have a fraction now. So I'm going to do the square root of both sides at this point and check out what happens. We have x minus 3. Oops, forgot to cancel those out. X minus 3 is equal to the square root of 9 divided by 4. Well, the square root of 9 divided by 4 is actually, or this can actually be written, let me make a quick note here. The square root of 9 divided by 4 can be written as the square root of 9 divided by the square root of 4. The square root of 9 is plus or minus 3. The square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. So this is positive 3 divided by 2. So our answer here is positive 3 and, sorry, not positive 3 and negative 2. It's actually positive 3 halves and negative 3 halves. So let me just write this down. Positive 3 halves and negative 3 halves. And well, after this, we can just create two different equations or write two different equations. Let me zoom out a little bit. So we can write two different equations as x minus 3 is equal to positive 3 halves and x minus 3 is equal to negative 3 halves. We could add 3 on this side, and we get 3 halves plus 3, or 1.5 plus 3 is 4.5. And on this one, we get, if we add 3 on both sides, x is equal to, by the way, 3 halves is equal to 1.5, or negative 3 halves is equal to negative 1.5. So negative 1.5 plus 3, that's equal to, what would that be, 1.5? Positive 1.5. So we get 1.5 on this value.